This is world-renowned sports writer Bob Ryan, and you're about to witness a signature voice production.
Sound in any video, or if you hear a song on the radio, most likely it was recorded and saved as an MP3 file.
Vinyl was about the size of a wheel well. It was about 16 inches in diameter, like a pizza. And that's how you got your music, unless you listened to a radio. So it was what the music was, the grooves in the vinyl played your music.
What I mostly like about MP3 is that virtually anything works for it. Like, you can hear MP3 on your phone, MP3 on video that you're watching on YouTube. MP3 files are the easiest thing to send instead of WAV files or MP4 files. MP3 is like your standard file of sound that you can send.
First of all, I call them records, which isn't using now. But it just reminds me of the first music that I purchased. It was on vinyl, whether it was a 45, which is a smaller disc that only played one song on each side, or larger disc, which was what they called an album. They still call them albums. And you could play your music on them. What was good about it? Some people will tell you the music sounds better. I don't know one way or the other. It was noisy, but I liked it because you could go and physically buy it and look through all the different albums, and you could pick it out and you physically took it home.
Oh, of course MP3 is more convenient than vinyl. That's why we went from vinyl to MP3, you know. I don't think anyone really uses vinyls today unless they're trying to listen to old record player or something. But we don't use vinyls for the radio or really anything anymore. MP3 is basically innovation.
A record, as they called them, and you wanted to have the record because you didn't want to wait 2 hours on the radio. I know that seems funny now, but to wait 2 hours on the radio to hear your song again. Was it convenient? Sometimes not so much. In that time, it was the only way to get your music.
Never used vinyl before, honestly, but I know what it is. But for me, MP3 is just extremely important, especially when it comes to making music, because you don't want any problems happening when you're trying to send music or get your music on the radio or anything like that. You want your MP3 file because that's the file that is standard and that most people are going to have less problems with.
Vinyl pieces was Michael Jackson's Thriller. And I had my stereo set up in my room, and I would play that at a very high volume, and I played it so often that I had a lot of crackling in that album, so much that I really couldn't enjoy that cranked up, which was the way I always liked music. It wasn't working, so I actually had to go buy a second vinyl album because I wore the first one out. From the wear and tear of playing it, there was just too much crackle and the sound was gone. And with an MP3 player, you don't have that issue. But again, the technology has just advanced beyond vinyl.
Honestly, I'm a person that's a fan of history, so honestly, knowing what people in the past had to go through just to get their music out there, and listening to what artists from the past really had to do to get their music out there. I feel like vinyl is really important to have and listen to old records because you really understand what the struggle was that they went through to get their music out there, I guess. And I mean, I have vinyls at my house. I have the Michael Jackson Bad album at my house, in a big vinyl casing. And I mean, I just have it. I don't have a record player, but I think they're important to have just to reflect and recollect on history.
No, I don't have one. Would it be convenient? Yes, but when I make my list of things to do, it kind of wouldn't be, it would be on the bottom tiers. Not because it wasn't important, but because there are so many things in life that are more important.
I'd say definitely if you're doing anything with music, MP3 files just the way to go because they have less problems. They much more easier to get video and music onto them.
It was huge, vinyl, but you keep them because they're a memory. And they're, music, when you hear a song, it can take you back to wherever you were, however old you were. And those are a memory, just like a photograph, actually. They're just like a photograph, and it's something that isn't around anymore.
This has been a Signature Voice production.